What's going on, everybody? Hope you all are having a fantastic day today. Now today we're going to be checking out the VAL Assault Rifle in Call of Duty Modern Warfare because the whole topic of today's video is going to revolve around this weapon. Now, a little while ago, I'll say a couple of months before the VAL actually released, we finally hit a balance in Modern Warfare, something that I've been waiting for so long. If you guys are new to my channel, haven't been watching me for a while, I made tons of rants when this game first came out, complaining about the current meta, well, not the current meta now, but the current meta back then, of this video game, which was the M4 and the MP5. Every single game, you ran into the M4 or you ran into the MP5. It's just as simple as that. And you could not use any variety. You couldn't use an MP7. You couldn't use a Bison. You couldn't use an M13, a Kilo. You literally couldn't use anything besides an M4 or MP5 if you wanted to compete. Now, of course, every once in a while, you'll run into lobbies that are a little bit more mixed. But the majority of the lobbies, every single time, were M4 or MP5. And if you tried to compete with any other different weapon, you were basically at a massive disadvantage. It just simply was not fun, and it forced you to also fall into the same line as all the other sweats using the M4 and the MP5. You had to use those weapons, or you would lose matches against people who would only use those guns. So it really led to no variety in Modern Warfare. But like I said, a couple of months ago before the VAL released, Modern Warfare finally reached a point where they nerfed the M4, they nerfed the MP5, they balanced out the FAL, and they really added variety into this video game. You would see everything. Odins, M13s, Kilos, M4 still scattered here and there, but honestly, to be real with you guys, I rarely ever see an M4 in any lobbies nowadays, including with the MP5. Honestly, the MP7 and the Uzi, after the Uzi got a bunch of buffs, are now the two new current best weapons in this video game. Not saying the MP5 isn't viable, it's still a very powerful weapon, but it's been balanced out. Now, you don't only have to use MP5, you can use different SMGs as well and still be able to compete no matter what. Same thing with the ARs. You're not forced to use the M4. You're able to balance it out and use anything you want. And it was so nice. It felt so good. And it added the flow and the gameplay into Modern Warfare. Now, it didn't make it a completely amazing video game, but it balanced it out. And that's a really big key factor to making sure your game balances out. But then comes the horrible decision of adding the AS VAL into Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, I'm not going to complain. This gun was made for me. This is my baby. And nobody believed me when it first came out when I said this is going to be the most overpowered gun. And it really did make me think because everybody disagreed with me. I was starting to think, well, maybe it is just, a well-balanced weapon that just fits me and my playstyle very well. But apparently, no, I was completely correct. It is a mainstream weapon. Every lobby is using this weapon, and for the exact reasons that I said before. It kills extremely fast. The headshot multiplier on this weapon is absolutely bonkers. The fire rate is extremely high, and has very minimum recoil. Having all those factors all combined into one weapon, it literally is the ultimate gun that you would always want. High damage, fast fire rate, high headshot multiplier, no recoil, it's literally perfection. And anytime you try to step out of the boundaries of the AS VAL, and even if you use the M4, more than likely you're going to get outgunned just by the sheer speed that this weapon shoots its bullets at. It's a goated god tier weapon. And I mean, to be completely honest with you, in real life, that's just how this gun is. This gun is banned in actual war with how powerful and insane it actually is. So yes, it's an insanely OP weapon. But in a video game, you have to find a way to balance it. You can't have one gun completely take over the whole meta of the video game, especially when you just built a balance for the game. It couldn't come at a worse time, right when the game was getting a little bit better when it came to weapon balance. But at its current state, you will not be able to find any lobbies without the AS VAL completely littered across the board. I'm going to be showing you guys gameplay today of the AS VAL, like I just said. I have two different clips here. Hopefully, I could prove to you guys and show a point why it's so powerful. You're going to see me just absolutely dominate and stomp out lobbies against players who aren't using AS VALs, and just see the massive difference and how unfair the advantage is when you're versing a skilled player with an AS VAL versus anybody who even wants to try out a different weapon. It kills the fun of the video game. And this is the only gun I'm using now. It legitimately is the only gun I'm using because I don't see any purpose or any point. There's usually at least one AS VAL player on the other team. And that is enough to make me want to only use the AS VAL. Even with one player, only one player in the enemy team using the AS VAL, I still don't want to take the chance. Because if by any chance I run up against him, it's going to be a loss. If I'm on a high streak and I'm avoiding that player and I'm going off and killing all of his teammates and streaking up, and then out of nowhere, I'm like one kill away from my white phosphorus or something, and then he pops up, I'm screwed. I'm legitimately screwed. No matter what I could do, unless he's an absolute garbage player and he has no clue how to aim, maybe it's his first FPS video game, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna lose that gunfight. And it's just a rampant problem that's happening all across the board. Like I said, tons of different content creators are talking about this. A lot of the gameplay channels that I know, like Hummus, Exo Ghost, a lot of people are complaining about the AS VAL being overpowered and only being seen, especially in Search and Destroy, where it's a very competitive game mode. They're everywhere in Search. It's mind-blowing. It has to be changed. It 110% has to be changed. And the funny thing about this whole thing is that they already nerfed this weapon, I believe twice. If not twice, then they at least nerfed it once. And they still haven't even considered talking about it. They haven't mentioned the AS VAL. They haven't talked about the AS VAL. We have no updates on if they're even planning on giving this gun a nerf. Even with all the voices in the community completely trying to put Infinity Ward on complete blast right now over this weapon, they still won't acknowledge anybody. It's game-breaking. It's legitimately game-breaking. You can argue with me that it's not, but I can tell you my side of the story. I think it really is. Any weapon that can completely stomp out any gun in the video game, no matter how much your skill level is game-breaking, my personal opinion. And when the gun is so good that it forces all players in the lobby to switch to the same exact gun just to compete, that's how you know when something is insanely broken. The devs should already know this before it even entered the video game. You would think that it's just common sense that the gun is cracked. But once again, I'm assuming all the devs at the studio just simply aren't that good at the video game, so that's the only thing I can think of how this gun got past any of them into the actual official build of the game. Because how could you test something like this? How could you play with something like this and think that it's not completely overpowered compared to the rest of the weapons? Maybe they had the wrong attachments on it is what I'm assuming, because clearly the developers don't know what good attachments are when it comes to a weapon. All the blueprints in this game, everything you can buy in the store, if you play Gunfight and it gives you the random weapons, everything is stupid, literally. It gives you no good attachment setups. But once a good player or experienced player gets behind the game, and they can mess with all the attachments and they can put what they want on the gun, it turns into a god tier weapon. To be completely honest with you, they just need to simply fire whoever is testing out all these weapons and hire someone a little bit more better or just more skilled when it comes to gameplay in the Call of Duty video games to test out these things before they go into the game, because this is absurd that this made it past anything. Now, of course, I'm not just going to simply complain about this video game this whole video. I'm clearly going to give my feedback and my personal opinion on how I think the devs could easily fix the AS VAL to make sure that's a good weapon, still viable weapon, but not just completely nerf it into the dirt, make it, not usable, and then nobody wants to touch it again. The whole goal here is to make sure that all the weapons across the board are good, equal, and they're all fun. Now, the AS VAL has a massive headshot multiplier, and I think if they nerf that, it will really help with this weapon. I mean, you could absolutely melt anybody as long as you just aim for the headshots. And usually in this video game, just go for the chest. It's always a Call of Duty thing. It's not like, Rainbow Six Siege, Valorant, CSGO, where headshots are that crucial. Honestly, the chest is the most viable thing in a Call of Duty video game. But for some reason, the AS VAL has completely changed the game to a headshot game now, because if you hit even just a couple of headshots on your opponent, you basically insta-melt them. And it's not just up close. You could do this across the map as well. As long as you nail a few headshots or maybe just a one shot to the chest and a couple to the dome, it's a GG. Between the fire rate, the high damage, and having no recoil, so you can easily just line up all of those shots straight to the dome. It's just a melt machine. And the second thing, and the last thing for this weapon that I think they should do, is nerf the damage range. This gun could melt at any range you could possibly think of. Yes, it's a little hard to manage at medium to long range, but if you seriously learn how to control the recoil pattern, the damage is just out of this world. You could absolutely melt people, and it just feels perfect, which is another problem along with headshots, because like I said, with the headshot multiplier, you could just beam people across the map with this weapon. I think if they reduce the damage range and lower the headshot multiplier, that would make this gun good. They don't need to lower the fire rate, they don't need to lower the damage, they don't have to lower any of that stuff, because the gun is supposed to be a fast-paced, close-quarter combat weapon that can also compete at medium range. You shouldn't be able to beam someone across the map with this unless you got the 10-round mag or maybe a Dragunov scope on the weapon. But if you got an iron sight on this gun with a 30-round mag and you're just beaming people across the map, it just doesn't seem very real when it comes to this weapon. I like to use this weapon as a close quarter weapon. I like to run into buildings, clear them out, and even engage with people who, like I said, medium range. And it fits my playstyle still. But it goes above and beyond that point as well. You can literally use this gun as an all-around weapon, a sniper rifle, a shotgun, an SMG, an AR. It can basically conquer any role you could possibly wish. And that is simply why everybody in this video game is using this weapon. So honestly, just with those couple of changes, I seriously think that the AS VAL could be a competitive weapon, but not a completely overpowered weapon. At the end of the day, I do not want to see them nerf this gun into the ground. It's my favorite weapon at the moment, and it's my favorite weapon for a reason. But I don't want to see all the other weapons being completely neglected just because this one is outclassing them all. I just want to see a balance in Call of Duty. And like I said before, it used to be a balance in Call of Duty, and it felt nice, but the second the VAL came out, everything changed and everything shifted again. I just hope that the developers know what they're doing, and they could really even out this gun to make sure everything is playable. But guys, thanks so much for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, and by all means, if you hate it, leave a dislike. Also, if you're brand new and enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification button. Also, want to chat with me, there's two ways to do so. I have a Twitter and a Discord. Both those links are down in the description. And also, want to catch me live stream some video games, I do that over on Twitch. Link to that is in the description as well. But guys, thanks so much for tuning in. See you on the next one. Peace out.